All right, good morning, everybody, and welcome back to True Crime Loser. I hope you are doing well this morning. So, today I'm going to talk about Lieutenant Brian Filipiak, or as they call him now, Brian Filipiak. And this story starts at 12:30 a.m. in the Detroit airport on July 21st, 2013. And there's something that's always depressed me about airports, especially late, really late at night or early in the morning. It's just that lighting, and everyone's just trying to get out of there. The energy just smells like overpriced food and bathrooms, and it's only a matter of time before you're sitting next to someone that's rubbing nacho cheese into their crotch with a Ziploc bag. I actually had nacho cheese post-traumatic stress after CrimeCon because that happened to me on the way there. And then after the weekend, I hadn't even thought about it. And then I got back to the airport and I went through security and I was walking through the terminal and I saw the giant pretzel stand. And I was like, oh God. And they had this just massive nacho cheese dispenser. And on the side of it, it said, El Nacho Grande. And I was like, oh, fuck, not El Nacho Grande. And it said 3 speeds. I was like, oh, God, 3 speeds. And this woman just looked like she was filling a small canoe of chips with nacho cheese, just being like, ha, 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 ha. But luckily, the person didn't sit next to me. The person that did sit next to me estimated farted about 600 times from New Orleans to New York. But other than that, he was a good roommate. All right. So July 21st, 2013, 11:30 a.m. at the Detroit airport. Slow. You can picture someone mopping or working on the floor, probably a bunch of people sitting waiting for a late flight, a little bit depressed. I'm picturing pretty slow though overall, being late. And then all of a sudden, the airport police, or whatever you call them, security, whatever, gets a call that I feel like would be out of the blue that said there is a juvenile girl hiding in the United Airlines office at baggage claim, visibly distressed and scared of somebody. And she told the United employee that she's hiding in the office. She told the employee that she's hiding from her father, who she's supposed to go home with. She just flew in, and she's supposed to go home with her father, but he's drunk and acting crazy. And so the police get there, talk to her, and she says, yeah, my dad, I got here, I flew in, my dad is drunk and his eyes are glossed over. And so then they say, okay, well, we'll go talk to him. And then there's airport footage of, I guess they can move the cameras around in the airport, which figures. So there's footage of this camera that's in the airport, and all of a sudden they move it. So it's pointing at Lieutenant Brian Filipiak. And he's sitting there, hammered, like holding himself up on one of those kiosks, just trying to. One of the funniest things ever is watching just totally hammered people try to act sober, like really try to act sober if their life is on the line, trying to act sober. So he's sitting there just like, hello, I'm just sober. I love hugging kiosks. And a few airport police, I don't really know how it works, but these guys walk up to him and they're like, how's it going? And they're really nice. How's it going? And he's like, good. And they're talking about the situation at hand, and he's saying, yeah, I've had a couple beers, doing the whole, oh, just a couple beers, nothing more than a beer or two. And they ask, how did you get here? I think they said something like, your daughter is hiding from you in the baggage claim office. She said she was going to have to leave with you. How did you get here? And he just goes, I drove. And they're like, okay, still being extremely nice to him. And they say, okay, well, is there anyone that can come and pick you up or pick them up? Or, you're not going to drive, is essentially what they were saying. And he's saying, no, it's fine. It's fine. I'm good. Just hugging a kiosk like. And so they don't know who he is yet. So eventually they say, sir, can we see some ID? And he refuses to give ID. He says, sir, you got to give us your ID. And he goes, no, I'm not going to. And they say, well, sir, we're going to arrest you if you refuse to give over your identification. You're hammered and you drove here and your daughter is terrified sitting in an office at baggage claim. You got to give us your ID or we're going to arrest you. And he goes, you're not going to arrest me. You know who I am, or something like that. You don't know who I am. And right there, I lose all sympathy for this guy. It's one thing, he's obviously has a really life-altering drinking problem, and it happens, but you can't be a dick about it and pull the whole, you don't know who I am, you know who my father is. It's all the same thing, like the snotty kid being like, you know who my father is. Or you know who I am, you're not going to arrest me. So right there it shows that old Brian is just positive that he is above the law. And having a few beers is one thing, but just driving hammered really is dangerous. And you could kill somebody. So it's no joke. You could just kill a family because you've had a couple, because you're just hammered. And so, long story short, with this one is his wife, I think they're in the process of getting divorced, comes, picks up the daughter, wants no business with him. I'm sure she's had it about up to here with his whole hugging the kiosk routine. And so then the cops, again, the airport police are just being as nice as possible, being like, how are you getting home? You got to take a cab. And he's like, okay, I'll take a cab. And he would walk towards the cab line. And then when no one was looking, he'd walk to their car. And they're like, Brian, dude, we're trying to be cool. We're trying to be cool here. You have to. And again, he's just being unnecessarily sneaky. Just, am I taking a cab? No, I'm going to head to my car. And so the airport security had to park right outside of the parking lot that he was at just to deter him, being like, you idiot, just get a cab. And I don't think they know how he got home that night. So he might have just slinked around and then when they weren't looking, gone home. So that's that incident, July 21st, 2013. November 1st, 2013. A couple months later, there's a call to a house in Michigan where domestic dispute, they get there, it's Brian sitting there just like, you been drinking, Brian? He's like, I've had a couple beers. That's his... but he's saying this, the dispute didn't get violent. I'm having some problems with my marriage. It's not going great. And the wife said he's in alcohol treatment, but he came back hammered. I don't want him, he's acting crazy, screaming at me, he's being verbally abusive. I don't want him here. And they're thinking, okay, well, where can he go? And And she's like, I don't know. I don't think anyone will take him at this point. Where that's a sad spot to be in with alcoholism. And it seems to always get there where eventually everybody is just over it. You know? And so he's begging, like, I don't want to be arrested. I'll just go straight to sleep. I just want to go to bed and all this stuff. And it's just a sad state to be in. So there's that incident. Still, nothing really life-changing or career-changing happens to him. Well, then, on November 13th, so almost exactly 3 years later, November 13th, 2016, the Highway Patrol in northern Michigan gets multiple phone calls that someone is in a truck is just hammered and driving totally reckless, almost hitting cars, almost going off the road. They have the description of the truck. They have the license plate numbers. And Highway Patrol or a cop, I don't know, sees it drive by, and then at this point in the story, we have Bodycam footage takes over. And so you see this cop see the truck driving all hammered and crooked drive by, so he swings around and turns on the lights and pulls this truck over. And who is it but old Lieutenant Brian Filipiak? Glossy-eyed, that look of, I am sober right now. And up until this point, I think he's always had the decency of police sort of letting him go. Just saying, you know what, man, you're hammered. We got this brotherhood. But this is where it runs out for old Brian. And so he is just obviously wasted. And the Highway Patrol that pulls him over is like, all right, well, we've had multiple reckless driving with all the way down to the matching license plate on you. And it smells like alcohol, so license and registration. And Brian makes this big old show of bringing out his badge, his wallet with the badge, being like, here, I'm getting my license and registration, but while I'm getting it, I just want you to look at this big shiny star. It's shiny, okay? Just want you to look at this for a second. And you can see the law enforcement that hasn't pulled over look at it, and he says something like, okay. And then he gets his license and registration, and again, he's like, there's multiple reckless driving. And Brian is like, okay. And he's like, you been drinking tonight? And same thing. He's like, I've had a couple drinks. And the police says, well, how many? And he goes, a couple. He just got that look in his eyes of like, I've had 8. And Brian is sitting there, and you could tell that this is his whole life and career, and everything is on the line right now. This is essentially a police interrogation, except it's on the side of the road and it's outside. He has everything to lose, is why it feels like just everything is so high during this exchange. And the cop goes, what were you reaching for in the back seat? And he is just, his mind's racing. So he does the classic. The cop goes, what are you reaching for back there? And you could tell he's thinking about something else, because he just goes, huh? Huh? What were you going for? Huh? Innocent people that aren't reaching for their road beer that's in the back usually go, oh, no, I wasn't reaching for anything. It goes, what were you reaching for? Huh? And then he's like, is there an open container out there? And then they're looking over his stuff, and you can feel just the disappointment in the Highway Patrol's voice. And he goes, so are you a correctional officer or are you a deputy? Being like, damn it, I'm going to have to do this whole, like, you're a cop type. And Brian goes, I'm a lieutenant. And if you watch the video, the whole thing's on video. I'll link it in the description. If you watch the video, when he says, I'm a lieutenant, watch his face. His face is in total agony this whole 24-minute video where this is happening, except for this moment when he goes, I am a lieutenant. And you see his eyes get confident, and you see his face light up, and you can see just that confidence of years of things like this happening and them just being like, all right, get out of here, Brian. Get out of here, Lieutenant. We'll bring you home, or we'll make sure you get home. And so he goes, I'm a lieutenant, and he gets all confident, and you can tell it's like, it'll just be a matter of time. He's going to go back, talk to his boss, and I'll be on my way. So the cop goes, all right, sit tight right here. And he goes back, and they don't have this part, so he either calls his boss or anything, but then footage picks up as he's walking back to the truck, and he turns the corner, looks in the window, and says, all right, Brian, I'm going to have you step out of the car and do a roadside sobriety test. And Brian's face turns from this confident, I am a Lieutenant Brian, woo, I'm going home, woo. And when he says, you need to get out of the car, the face, and he starts doing the Stephanie Lazarus breath where he goes, and he won't get out of the car. He clings on to the car like Dustin McFretridge clings on to normalcy. He's just in his driver's seat going, no, let me just go. Let me go. He's hammered. And the cop's like, I can't let you go. I can't let you go. There's multiple reckless driving calls with your license plate. I can't let you go. And he's too drunk to really come up with much good arguments during this whole thing. So he ends up doing like what kids do, where he's like, I can't let you go. And he'll just be like, you can let me go. And it's like, we're way past that. And he's like, we're not way past that. And then at one point, the cop goes, you're not going to ruin my career. And Brian goes, you're not going to ruin my career. And the cop goes, I'm not ruining your career. You ruined your career. You're ruining your career by drinking and driving. What am I supposed to do? My hands are tied. If I was in your jurisdiction and one of your deputies pulled me over, you would tell them to do the same thing. And he's just going, just over and over again, he's just going, just let me go. And they're like, you got to get out of the car, buddy. Get out of the car, or we're going to pull you out of the car. And he goes, just let me go. And he goes through different chapters in this whole thing, and the first one is the let me go chapter. And then he moves into the let me pull over chapter. And then he moves from the let me pull over chapter into the let me stay here. Let me just stay right here. Which moves into the let me sleep it off. I'll just sleep it off. Let me sleep it off. I'll just sleep it off. And then he moves from the let me sleep it off chapter to the let me sleep in the bushes. I'll just go and sleep in the bushes. Very realistic for the cops to just be like, okay, just go nestle down in the bushes, please. And then it moves as it's getting more desperate to the let's make a deal. And then he just puts his foot, just the last one where he just puts his foot down and really begs is the let's talk. So right now we're in the let me go, where he just, wherever really they're just saying normal, like you got to get out of the car. We got to figure this out. You're too drunk. I'm not gonna lose my career over letting you drive away hammered. And his responses are just, let me go. Please just let me go. I'll just go. You can just let me go. Oh yeah, one of my favorite ones is when he first gets back to the car, he goes, okay, please step out of the car for a roadside sobriety test. And Brian goes, I'm just going camping. Like, what? That's a great response. Anytime I'm questioned by the cops or asked anything, I'm just going to answer by, I am going camping. I'm just going camping. Sir, what are you doing? Just going camping. I'll be camping soon. And the highway patrol's like, where are you going camping? And he's like, right around there's a town, and he names a town, and the highway patrol's like, that town is not over there. And then he names another town, and the highway patrol's like, that town's not there either. And the highway patrol's like, are you going camping in Hawk? And he's like, past Hawk. Definitely past Hawk. And it's going nowhere. And then now the highway patrol has like a helper there. So there's two, and they are saying, you have to get out of the truck. And anyone else would have just been totally yanked out of the truck and slammed on their face with like a boot right here. But they're trying to be really nice to him, because you got to feel for him a little bit, that they know that once this whole day is over and he sobers up, he's going to lose his job. He's going to have to find a whole new career. And you got to feel a little bit bad for him. But I don't think I really do, just because of his whole, just let me go. You don't know who I am. I am Lieutenant Brian. And so he turns more into a child as this goes, where they're like, Brian, we're going to have to pull you out. And they start grabbing his arm a little bit. And he goes, no. Let's just let me go. I'll go sleep in the bushes. I'm going camping. Please, I'll go. I'll sleep. I'll stay here. Let me go. And he just has all of these little phrases that he just sticks to. And the police are just like, we're past that, Brian. We can't let you go. And he'll just be like, well, just let me pull over. Like, you're already pulled over. We can't. You have to get out of the car. And they finally are like, all right, we're going to pull you out of the car. And they start pulling him out. And he just kind of wedges his, kind of a chubby guy, so he just wedges his body like into the car. And he's like, I'm not going. And finally, they have to pull out the taser and point it at him and threaten him and like, get out, Brian. This is ridiculous. We're trying to be cool to you. And then so finally he gets out and he's like, oh, okay, I'm out. And so now the whole thing goes from the driver's seat to the front of the police car. And so now he moves into he's done with the let me go and the let me stay here and the let me sleep it off. And so now he's in all right, let's make a deal. And so they're like, are you going to take a roadside sobriety? And he goes, let's just make a deal. I'll head over. And they're like, no, there's no deal. What are you talking about? You have to take a roadside sobriety or we're arresting you. And he goes, no. Hey, come on. I'm here. Please, just let's make a deal. And then he moves into the let's talk. And at this point, he's refused the roadside, and so they cuff him, which he's like, I'm not fighting, and they end up like having to violently, because he's just not cooperating. And so they, with force, arrest him, and they put cuffs on him, and they bring him back to the door of the police car. So it goes from inside his car, where he's like, let me go, and then it goes from the front of the car, where he's just like, let's make a deal, and then they go to the back door of the car. He's not in yet, and they're like, just get in the car, Brian, come on, don't make us do this, don't make us wrestle you, we we're trying to be, why are you doing this to us? And he's like, why are you doing this to me? Let's just talk about it. I just wanted to talk. And they're like, Brian, we had to point the taser at you. And then we had to forcibly put the cuffs on you. What are you doing? Just be a man about this. And he's like, you be a man about it. He just has nothing. He's just a pathetic, wasted mess. And finally, or he's like, just let me sleep it off. And they're like, you're cuffed. It's way beyond that. And they're like, all right, we're going to put you in the back seat, Brian. And he's like, won't go in. And they're pushing him in, and he's like, let's talk, please. Let's just talk about it. And he has a great line. Oh yeah, as they're like, he's cuffed, as they're bringing him back to the door, he just goes, dude, guys, dude, let's talk about this. And at one point he goes, why are you putting me in this position? And he goes, why are you putting me in this position? And as they're forcing him into the car, he's trying not to go in. He turns around and goes, I'm who you guys are. I am who you guys are. I'm who you guys are. And they're like, you're arrested, Brian. And then he falls down with his like shirt pulled up. You can see his ass crack and his belly. And he like, as they're pushing him in, he just doesn't want to get into it. And he like falls down into the seat. And he looks up, falling down, pathetic with his ass crack showing. And he goes, so what do you guys want to talk about? He's still just going, I want to talk. Let's just talk. And they pathetically like drag him in. And he goes, no, stop. And they slam the door. And just like that, Lieutenant Brian is not Lieutenant Brian anymore. And I think there's something nice about seeing that the police in this footage didn't give him a special deal, that he was treated, other than not yanked out immediately, he was treated with some, cop to cop respect. But other than that, it's nice to see his confidence of like, I'm good, I can do whatever I want, I drink and drive on the highway all the time, they'll let me go, I'll sleep in the bushes. But whatever the highway patrol is in this thing, I think he did a good job. It just is like, no, Brian, we're way past that. And he was stripped of his lieutenant badge and his credentials, and now he works for the sheriff's office, he works for the sheriff's office. Is just but completely, I think you'd lose your pension, or I'm sure it's a total nightmare. And honestly, I hope that Brian got himself help with his whole drinking problem, because it looks like a life-threatening drinking problem. And maybe something like losing his whole career and job and being stripped and embarrassed and everything, maybe that's enough to start working on it. But either way, this one's getting long. I'm going to cut it off there. I hope you're having a good day. True Crime Loser out. Why? Stavin' why? Shamida.